Ever since I saw this video by Switch and Click a few years ago, I've always wondered why there haven't been any keyboards following this design language. It makes for a really nice two-tone colorway which can tie together a setup really well. So I went looking, and without having to look for long, I found this, the KiiBoom Loop75, and I managed to get one to check it out myself courtesy of KiiBoom. Hi everyone, my name is Fang and I check out keyboards and other stuff too, so you know where to spend your money. If you're looking for a premium and unique looking keyboard which comes fully assembled and you don't have to build it yourself, then the Loop75 might be the keyboard for you. This keyboard was sent to me by KiiBoom. They don't review the video, they don't tell me what to say or what not to say, and all the thoughts in this video are my own. They see this video at the same time as you all. I would appreciate it a lot if you click that subscribe button, as it is the best way to support my channel. It's free, and if you don't like my content later on, you can unsubscribe at any time. Hope you enjoy this video. The unboxing experience is quite nice. Everything is packed nice and secure with plenty of foam in all the right places. The box opens up smoothly and we're greeted with some foam. Under the foam, we get the manual, the keyboard with a plastic dust cover, a basic USB A to C cable, a keycap and switch puller, a small Allen wrench for the screws, and no extra switches? That's weird. The Loop75 sits at $170 US. Even keyboards that are much cheaper include extra switches in the box and come with better cables. You can use any USB-C cable, so that's not a big concern, just a little disappointing. My first impressions of this keyboard were great. It's a nice, hefty boy and it looks amazing. It looks sleek and it feels quite premium. The two-tone color of this board is super unique and pretty, especially with the included gradient keycaps. The Loop75's case is made of 4 separate aluminium pieces, each of which is anodized in their respective colors. Anodization is a better coloring process than powder coating, as it's more durable and more resistant to scratches and chips. The 75% exploded layout of this keyboard looks pretty clean and functional, and the silver knob ties it in pretty well. This keyboard looks beautiful from all angles, right? Right? Well, look closer. Why did KiiBoom choose to make these pieces connect in this manner, I will never know. The front looks so pretty, and then you look down and the lines don't meet? This misalignment sticks out like a sore thumb when you look for it. It's the same at the top of the board as well, but that matters less because that's not directly visible when using the keyboard. Moving on, the side accent pieces look pretty nice. It makes me wonder if these were intended to be for side glow RGB, since that's how I've seen this slotting mechanism being used in other keyboards. Let me know down below if you would prefer this with lights on the side or if you just like this the way it is. Moving to the back of the keyboard, on the left side you get the USB-C port for wired connection and the wireless toggle switch. Right next to it is the magnetic wireless dongle holder slot. This is pretty convenient, but the mode switching method in the Loop75 is a little unintuitive. The shortcut to switch to the Bluetooth mode is function plus Q or W or E. The shortcut for wired mode is function plus T, and the shortcut for the 2.4 GHz mode is function plus P. Out of the box, the keyboard doesn't work till you hold the correct shortcut keys. This is a weird thing that I've never had to do on a pre-built keyboard before, but it's not a big deal I suppose, since you only have to do it once. On the bottom, we get 4 rubber feet. Nothing fancy, but it gets the job done. The keyboard doesn't move around on the desk at all when typing or gaming. This keyboard is VIA compatible, and you'll have to be connected via a wire to be able to customize the keys and stuff. You'll need to download the JSON file for the Loop75 from the KiiBoom website. If you don't want to deal with VIA or the JSON file, then you can just use KiiBoom's web driver. As you change settings on the driver, you can see the changes happening live on your keyboard. You can customize lighting, macros, shortcuts, reprogram keys, and add layers to the keyboard through this driver. And once you close the website, the changes are saved in your keyboard's onboard memory, so you don't have to keep it running in the background all the time. The diagonal split between the two halves look really cool, but the front lip and the back lip don't line up, which is a very weird decision because there aren't any custom pieces available. I would imagine that the only reason this could have been done this way was if KiiBoom planned to launch replacement pieces in different colors for the case, so you can customize it to your liking. In the marketing for this keyboard, we see gasket socks, but in the actual keyboard, we see these stick-on pour-on foam gaskets, which makes it a one-time, non-replaceable system. So even if you wanted to customize this by getting different pieces, you'll have to deal with this pour-on foam gasket. Let's discuss some of the features of this keyboard. The Loop75 has a nice, tactile knob which adjusts volume by default and acts as a mute-unmute button when clicked. The Loop75 comes with a flex cut PCB and a flex cut FR4 plate, which feels pretty nice to type on. It features south facing RGB, which is pretty bright and it looks really nice. This keyboard doesn't have shine through keycaps though, so the RGB is not really going to help you in terms of visibility, but it does look nice. Although, I recommend keeping the RGB off because without the RGB, you get about 10 times the battery life. The 4000 mAh battery lasts a good while. With the RGB on, it lasted about 25 to 30 hours, and with the RGB off, it lasted for almost 200 hours of use. So, I recommend using this with the RGB off. It has 5 layers of sound dampening material, which we'll see in the teardown section of the video later on. The Loop75 comes with these gradient dies-up PBT keycaps, which are quite nice. The legends are sharp and fairly consistent. It comes with the KiiBoom Matcha Latte 2.0 switches, which are decent, linear switches that are pre-looped. Here are the specs of the switch, so you can pause and check it out if you want to. They feel nice and tight. They're not super heavy at 53 grams of force, and I haven't gotten fatigued even after long typing sessions. The gasket mount uses foam gaskets, which doesn't support the typing feel as much as I'd like. Regular gasket sleeves might have been a better option. The Loop75 only comes with the Matcha Latte 2.0 as an option, so if you want to change the switches, this PCB is hot swappable, although that will add to the cost a little bit. The keyboard has a nice, crisp, high-pitched sound profile. Clacky, as the kids say. I usually enjoy a nice deep talk, but recently I found myself being into clacky keyboards. I even modded my main keyboard to have a nice clacky sound. One thing you notice when typing though is just how far this chin extends. They probably did this to lower the height of the front lip, but it does sometimes touch my palm, which is not an issue, just something I noticed. I prefer using this keyboard with a wrist rest. The stabilizers are pre-lubed plate mount stabilizers. They're fine, they could use a little work and maybe a little tuning, but it's not a big deal, because they're fine as they are. Here's what the keyboard sounds like. We're going to be tearing down the KiiBoom Loop75. There are no screws in the front, it's all in the back, which is a good thing. First, make sure that you've turned the keyboard off, center it to the camera. I don't think you need to do that step, but hey. Oh, these are not Phillips head screws, these are hex screws. Alright, this one works. So, I don't have a hex screwdriver, but I have a star, which is basically a hex. So you're gonna open all these screws. There's 10 screws. This is a pretty board. I like the two-tone theme that they've got going on, but I don't think they executed it properly. The way these metal pieces are separated from each other is honestly not the best. Like, you can see the seam clearly even from the front and the back. Like, overall from the top, the keyboard looks amazing to me. They should be selling different modules for this, but they don't, which is a shame. Like, you just get the two colors that you get. They should have like pink, red, green, blue, at least the primary colors, you know what I mean? Dude, black and white, that's such a theme. They should have like a black and a white. They don't have a white half at all. So even if you buy like 2 Loop75s, you can't get a white. And you just, oh, it's 4 pieces. That's why there's 10 screws. Makes sense. Oh, the knob is attached here. Fair. Yeah, well, the frame fell down. This is very confusing. Oh, that's, whoa, that's stupid from my end, to be honest. It's not their fault. But hey, at least the cables are long enough. I'm glad the cables are long. So, I'm gonna take my slippers off because I don't want to be static electricity. So first you disconnect the battery. Okay, so that's the USB module, like the Type-C connection back there for wired mode and charging. That came out easier. Alright. So in the bottom section you get these two metal accent pieces. There's the 4000 milliamp hour battery, and there's two halves to the keyboard. You can take these two apart. That's the bottom case, and they go back together pretty easily. So this is basically held together by these gaskets. I'm gonna put this aside for now, and let's have a look at this. Alright, so in terms of foam, there's the classic 5 layers, I think. Yeah, there's this massive plastic sheet to prevent the metal from contacting the PCB. There's hot swap sockets. Yeah, that's the sticky. It's adhesive, so careful with that. Yeah, the knob seems to be kind of... How do you even take the knob out? They don't really tell you. Oh, you can just pull it out. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, you just pull the knob out, and then you can lift the top thing up. Yeah, that's the top case. And this is also two halves held together by those same gaskets. Yeah, the gaskets are attached to that instead of the PCB like you usually see. The PCB honestly looks good quality. There's layers of foam between the PCB and the plate. You can clearly see that there's two layers. So there's this layer, and then there's the layer underneath it. There's the foam, and then there's this sheet of, I think, PE. I don't know for sure. I'll put it up on screen how thick the plate is and what the material is. It does say that it is QMK compatible, which it is. I had an issue with this keyboard, which was resolved due to KiiBoom support. When I first got the keyboard, it worked perfectly out of the box in all 3 connection modes. But after a few days, when I reset the keyboard for testing, I couldn't get it working in 2.4 GHz mode again. But it still worked fine in wired and Bluetooth mode. I contacted KiiBoom support about this, and they sent me a replacement USB dongle free of charge. We discussed this some more, and they gave me precise instructions about the pairing for the new dongle. You have to do these steps in this exact order. First, you have to toggle the switch on the keyboard to wireless mode. Then, you have to hold Fn plus P for 3 to 5 seconds till the indicator light starts flashing quickly. And finally, you have to quickly insert the dongle into the computer before the flashing stops. In my case, it worked after I plugged the dongle into the main USB port on the back of my PC. It did not work with the USB hub that I use. That resolved my issue, and I have not had any issues with connectivity since then. Gaming with the Loop75 is nice. 3 milliseconds of latency and 1000 Hz polling rate in the 2.4 GHz wireless mode makes this good enough for gaming. The Loop75's implementation of the chassis is a pleasant change from the usual full CNC machined aluminium case that we see. These keyboards usually have a single color for the top and the bottom housing to keep things simple and to reduce costs. The Loop75 has 6 pieces to the body, 4 large main pieces and the 2 side inserts. This increases the production time and cost, especially when all these pieces are in different colors. If you like the aesthetic of this keyboard, I think $170 is a good price for it, and it often goes on sale on Amazon for $150. The rest of the feature set is mostly an attempt to tick off what is expected from a keyboard in this price range these days. You get the volume wheel in the top right corner, you get a 75% form factor, which is the most popular one to be fair. You get first party pre-lubed switches, you get first party pre-lubed stabilizers, you get tri-mode connectivity, you get hot swappable switch sockets, a gasket mount, VIA support, RGB LEDs. Most of these work flawlessly and help justify the asking price of the KiiBoom Loop75. Some of the features have some quirks though, and they are worth noting in case these are deal breakers. There is a single switch type on offer despite KiiBoom having several first-party switches on its own portfolio, which means you better like these Matcha 2.0 switches that they're providing, or else it'll cost you a decent amount to get more switches and swap them in. Despite the slight cons, the Loop75 legitimately feels like a premium and solid keyboard to use. The actual typing experience is on par with more expensive keyboards, and I really like the sound profile of this keyboard. The unique design of it and the overall premiumness of this keyboard makes it worth the price in my opinion. Thank you for watching, like the video and subscribe to the channel as it is the best way to support my channel.